Welcome to Americorps at On-Campus Transition, and we're so glad today to have Sherry and Key to present this information to us. So thank you for joining us, and thank you to our presenters for joining us to share this great information on Americorps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Drew. Like Drew said, I'm Sherry Carlin, the Americorps Program Director, and with me I have Key. I'll let her introduce herself.
Yes, hi, my name is Key and I'm the Educational Services Coordinator here at the On-Campus Transition Program.
Perfect. So I know you guys are just getting back from lunch, and what's a good training without an intro icebreaker, right? We love those, especially after lunch. So I wanted to go ahead and quickly ask, name the last thing you ate and how you're feeling right now, and go ahead and put that in the chat box if you could. So I'll use this one as an example. You can see that I'm pretty good, okay. Tired puppy, yes. Oh no, well, I hope you're feeling better. It's good that this was online then, right? Pecan pie. Oh, Drew, that's my favorite. I can't wait for Thanksgiving. Great, awesome, you guys. Well, welcome to the training. Oops. Sorry, hang on, I'm trying to figure out how to, oh, there we go. So our objectives, we're gonna talk about Americorps. We're also gonna talk about the ARC and the OCT program and that relationship. We're going to talk about the benefits of Americorps and then also the areas where our members serve at OCT or on-campus transition. And you can see the wonderful picture of my Americorps members. So Americorps 101, if you guys don't know a lot about Americorps, it's like the Peace Corps, but for the United States. So a lot of times the members take a year out of their life. Sometimes it's a gap year, sometimes they're still in college going to school and want to give back. So members receive a modest living allowance or living stipend, and then they also get an education award after successful completion of their service term. So that's a little bit about Americorps. Our program specifically starts in August, so like right before the students will start their school year, and then it ends in July, which is a little bit later than the semester because the college ends in May, and then we go into our summer life programming. But members can serve in different capacities, so something to keep in mind. Members can serve full-time, three-quarter time, half-time, reduced half-time, quarter time, and minimum time. Our members specifically serve full-time or half-time, and then our community advocates, which we'll get to in a little bit later, serve in a minimum time capacity at 300 hours for that full year of service. So the ARC Jacksonville and OCT program, he is going to take over.
Yeah, so I know we're all kind of in like the same realm of different programs. So maybe you've heard of our program, maybe you haven't. So our program on-campus transition is a partnership between the agency of the ARC Jacksonville and the University of North Florida. We were founded in 2008, originally in partnership with like the local high schools. But then we moved our partnership to the university. So now our office is fully kind of like inclusively located on the university. Right outside my window is a university campus. So we are, for funding purposes, considered a private high school serving like extended 12th grade services. So our students are generally in the realm of like 18 to 26, 28 years old. They can either do a 2-year program, which is a little more accelerated, or a 4-year program that's more slow and steady. And we do have an optional residential component. We serve 29 students and currently 9 of them are in that, or I'm sorry, 19 of them are in that residential program. They would either live on campus, inclusively in dorms with other students, or at an off-campus apartment. And our program, I will not lie, it comes with a little bit of a price tag just because of the nature of the program, but our students are eligible for McKay Scholarship until they reach the age of 23. And also Gardner, I know Gardner switched its name, but they're eligible for both of those. They can receive funding through APD med waiver, vocational rehab, or they can private pay or a mix of those services. Our program is really awesome. I'm a little biased because I do run the day program, but our students spend their days in college classes auditing, so not taking for credit, but they still get to attempt all of the assignments if they would like to, or they can just sit and listen. They meet with 5 mentors each week, which Sherry will get into specifically a little bit later. They do big group workshops. A lot of them have internships on campus. So sometimes they usually start off as unpaid internships from offices that would just be willing to take a volunteer, but a lot of times that does turn into paid employment on campus. And even if it doesn't, it does boost their resume a lot to have a bunch of employment experience while still in their like late teens, early 20s years. So that is OCT. Next slide, Sherry. So how Americorps fit into our program. So mainly they're doing a lot of that like boots on the ground work with our students. So they meet with a selection of students, generally like 9 to 10 students weekly. And then they also have time in our office for lesson planning and planning group activities. But they serve as peer mentors to our students. There are a lot of studies that say that peer mentorship is a very effective way to teach people with intellectual disabilities. And quite honestly, they tell the Americorps things that they would not be willing to tell me. So it really feels kind of like that peer buddy relationship, and the students feel kind of more included in the college campus. As Sherry mentioned, we are like on a college campus. So most of the Americorps that serve in our office specifically are current students. So in addition to like actually, performing their service mentoring our students, there are also students on campus that can introduce them to, things that they like. So clubs, sports, being a gym buddy, whatever it might be that the student wants. And then we also have our mentor recruiters. So they recruit and manage our volunteers. We have volunteer social mentors and lots of different, volunteer opportunities on our office for different people in different majors who want experience with people in intellectual disabilities. So public health, social work, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people volunteer in our office. So our Americorps kind of oversee that program. And we also have our community advocates. We have 2 students every year who are selected to serve as minimum time members, and they do advocacy on behalf of the student body and also on behalf of our office. So a lot of times they serve as like a first point of contact if there's like an issue that students have and they just say like, oh, I don't know, when is this event? Can you help me find it? Or would you be willing to go with me to this? I'm scared to go by myself. Or, hey, I think I need to talk to Key about this, but I'm really nervous. Can you just walk with me there? And then they also run sessions for our incoming freshmen. So they just kind of serve as, they're seen as older students who have some status within the program. They're always students that are very wonderful model students. And it gives them an opportunity for paid service, which is really awesome. It looks great on their resumes and gives them kind of an edge when they go looking for employment.
Perfect. Thank you, Key.
Yep. And then so some of the benefits of having our Americorps working so closely with our program. So it enables OCT to expand the student capacity. There's so much more that we can do with Americorps. So our office is actually kind of like 3 or 4 people that work here, like full-time, 4 staff members. So we could not do what we do without the Americorps. So we currently have, I think, 19 members in our office. So that if you do the math, there's so many more of them, so they can do more of that one-on-one work with the students that I wish I could do, but there's just not enough of me to go around. And then all of our Americorps come with different skill sets. So we have people who are finance majors, so they know a lot about like the ins and outs of budgeting that like I've never studied finance, so that's not something I know. We have people who are really awesome at like repairing clothes or like doing little craft things, and that's something they can teach their students that maybe I couldn't. It's also very cost effective to have Americorps, so they receive that living stipend, which Sherry, I'm sure, could explain that a little better than I do in like funding purposes. And it also does allow our OCT students to become Americorps members, so they get that experience. And then members tend to stay in their field of expertise. So we have people who previously were in another major and then they serve with our office for a year and then they start working in education and special education, in counseling for our population, which is so vital, for social work areas, other areas that serve our program. I actually did Americorps for a year. I wanted to be a school teacher, and here I am now running the program that I served for 2 years ago. So yes. Anything else you want to add on to that, Sherry?
Yeah, I was going to say that's an added bonus of having Americorps members because they are complete leaders for the program. Like Key said, they serve in one-on-one or group sessions. So we kind of give them a little bit of an orientation and then throw them into it. And then you can kind of see who really stands out. And a lot of times we like to hire within the agency, whether at OCT or the ARC, and keep those Americorps members on board because they are our future leaders, right? So yes, thank you for saying that. I'm glad you mentioned
yes,
that.
of course. I always forget to mention myself. I'm like, Americorps go on to do great things. Oh, also, I was in Americorps.
You are doing great
yeah.
things, Key.
Thank you.
Okay, so on to our areas of service. So we have different position descriptions that the members serve in. So we have academic advising mentors. So they on campus will go to the Disability Resource Center and collaborate for the OCT students. They also help with coursework and tutoring. So they kind of sit side by side with the students, and if the students are struggling while they're working on their assignments, for their classes, the academic advising mentors are there to mentor them and help them. On a side note, outside of those one-on-one sessions, they also hold group sessions, and they'll do different trainings. So we've had the members do trainings on note-taking, test anxiety, self-advocacy in the classroom, and then also different studying techniques. If there are on-campus events, like if there was a studying 101 that the campus was holding or something like that, the academic advising mentors are also like responsible for, being in the know and looking up those events that are on campus that would be related to their site position description, and then trying to take the students to those events. So it's also working on community inclusion and like studying 101, like just getting them really fully immersed in the college experience. So that's academic advising. Then we have career development, or our work readiness mentors. These mentors provide assistance and training with job seeking behaviors. So they'll do mock interviews, they'll help with resumes, edit those resumes. I know with COVID, no one's really shaking hands anymore, but that was kind of like teaching students how to properly shake hands and make eye contact. That's also important. Assisting in completing job applications. We have internships on campus that the students will complete, and the mentors are responsible for going and checking in on the students and making sure that they're doing okay, and observing them, job shadowing. And making sure, like, if they need anything, that the any accommodations or anything, that the mentors can help them self-advocate for such things, and pre-employment training. So we also have our wellness mentors. Our wellness mentors focus on anything nutritional wise. So they develop lesson plans on nutrition guidance, talking about maybe My Plate, which also has a lot of resources. They do group fitness sessions. So most college campuses have gyms. I say most because I'm not sure if state colleges do. I can't remember. But so our wellness mentors will take the students to the gym, and they'll meet with fitness instructors, or they will hold their own sessions with the students using the gym equipment and making sure they're using it safely. And then they also hold a cooking class, which we call Fun with Food on Fridays. So this is where the mentors get together and do a group session with other students to provide and cook healthy meals. And it's just fun for them to learn how to cook and kitchen safety, and just making sure that, you know, the chicken that they use is if it's been frozen, like it hasn't been sitting in the refrigerator for 5 days, like, you know, things like that. So that's what our wellness mentors do. We also have financial literacy mentors. They provide assessments for the students. Well, each position actually has assessments related to our performance measures or surveys to make sure that the intervention, which is the member, is actually working. That's something that we have to do for Americorps. Which if you have any questions, you can email me about that later. They also talk about money management, budgeting. Something really important is talking about benefits. I'll be honest, when I was in college, I didn't know much about benefits until like after I graduated, which is a problem. So it's a good thing we have those mentors to sort of help with that, that learning. And another bonus to this is like we also hold like fun events on campus. So like just recently, some of the residential students were able to go to a Jaguars game. And if a mentor wanted to earn hours and go, they can. And if a financial literacy mentor went, they would earn hours for this, because if the student got up to go get something for like a drink or cotton candy or popcorn or whatever, like one does at a football game, you obviously have to pay for that. So the financial literacy mentor goes through the budget with them before they get to the game, making sure that they have a budget and stick with that budget, that they can't go over it, helping them count change, etc. So that's our financial literacy mentors. And then we have our independent living mentors. The way we kind of like outline these members is they serve in the evenings or weekends only typically, because that's for our residential students. So our students that live on campus, like he was saying, in either the dorms or at, I don't know what Frazzati is called. It's just an apartment.
So it's an apartment building, but it's aimed toward college students. So most people who live there are like college age, taking classes either at UNF or at a neighboring community college.
Right. So any of our residential students staying in one of those locations, they provide that individualized training after hours, kind of. So they do their intensive supportive living services, grocery shopping. We have a grocery shopping shuttle. So those members will go grocery shopping with them. They'll talk about healthy eating, cooking options, making a meal plan. They'll do laundry, making sure one does not throw in a red sweater in with white clothes, you know, cooking, cleaning, you know, just making sure that they can live independently. And then it also, the members also provide social mentoring and community inclusion. So they go out, they go grocery shopping, and which I already said, but they also do like those other events that I was talking about. So like each position is really about that experiential learning. So you learn something in the one-on-one session, but then like, let's go out and into the community and actually do it. That's like the biggest thing about the program, which I think is the best part, because you can talk to me all day long, but like, let me actually do it. And I think that's not all the time, but I feel like that's mostly how our individuals learn. Mentor recruiters. So we have mentors, Americorps members on campus that act as volunteer coordinators for the program. So we have two, and they are responsible for going out onto UNF's campus at different events. That they have, like every Wednesday, we have market days, and they're responsible for tabling and getting volunteers or our social mentors for the program and for our students. So these social mentors will have lunch with them. They will go to the game room with them. And the mentors are responsible for like making a good match. So they'll sit down and they'll meet with all of the students at the beginning of the year, figure out what they like, what they don't like. If a student really likes games, then they'll maybe partner them with a social mentor that's a gamer, right? That really likes playing games and going to the game room. And then they also have lunch with them. If there's events on campus, they go with them to different things to just provide that support and community inclusion. They welcome them into their friend group, and it just really creates a good inclusive atmosphere. It also ensures student satisfaction. What we mean is, like, we want to make sure that the student and the social mentor have a good relationship, because if there's any headbutting or something, then it's not really doing anything. So the mentor recruiters are there to just like make sure everything goes smoothly. They also track all of the volunteer hours. I know I've mentioned this before, but we have performance measures that we have to meet. So just making sure that we have the amount of social mentors that we need and those hours. They meet with sororities on campus, and it's great too because we also get to like go in and give disability presentations or disability accommodation presentations to those sororities. So it's kind of like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Like, you give me volunteers and we will provide you with accommodation training and things like that. So that's also great too, because then people are like, well, I don't really know how to approach someone that has an IDD or, something like that. Like, then more students on campus are comfortable talking to everyone. So that's a little bit about our mentor recruiters and the program. So that was it. Do you guys have any questions? I know it's kind of short, but.
Hi, Sherry and Key. This is Carol Britton-Laws. I'm with the University of Georgia, so I'm actually here as a facilitator, but I love to jump in on all your presentations because I always learn so much. So my question is really related to how you connected with Americorps to begin with. I know we have Americorps students on campus at the University of Georgia, but we haven't really tapped into how we could become a service kind of site, I guess. And what are the requirements for tracking their hours, or maintaining your relationship with Americorps so that you have this great pool of students on campus to assist you with the operations of your program?
Okay, sorry, I was taking notes while you were talking because I want to make sure I answer everything. So we are funded through Volunteer Florida, who is the state commissioner. So they get the funding from Americorps. And then they send out a RFP, or request for a proposal. And we apply for that every year. And it's good for 3 years. So with you being in Georgia, I'm not exactly sure because we're funded through Florida. I would assume Georgia has a state commissioner. I just don't know if they have an Americorps program. It is national, so I would probably just reach out to americorps.gov and see. Or I can also reach out to Kat Keene, who's the program director for all of our Americorps programs in Florida, and ask her what your next steps would be. So I could get back to you, or I can send
that would
to
be
you.
fantastic. Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat. I know we have Americorps students on campus already, so I know that they're there. We just
Okay.
didn't know how we connected into them. But if you can put me in contact with someone you might know, that would be great. We've kind of floated this idea and didn't know how to start with it. So
Yeah.
any resources you have would be fantastic. And I've been taking notes and texting my team as you've been going. So we might have some additional questions for you later. if you don't
Okay,
mind.
perfect. The next slide, I put my email address down, so
Okay.
you'll have that. So that was your first question. How to be tracking hours. So we use a system called Encore to track like all of the member hours to make sure that they're meeting that requirement. It does come with a cost, but I think it's only like $1,200 or something like that. It's really not that much. But there's also other programs out there that track member hours. And then sometimes people just use paper timesheets to keep track of that too, to cut down on cost. How do we maintain the relationship? So every year, like we have a Volunteer Florida program manager that we have to report to. And so we write the grant every year, and then we just, as long as we're meeting our performance measures, that's sort of how we maintain that good relationship. As long as we say what we said we would do in the grant as far as performance measures goes, then we get the grant. It also, something they also look at is like retention, like can we keep the members or do members withdraw? That's something to consider. College students often go through the game of life where they will withdraw. But we have reports that we have to submit to Volunteer Florida. So that's kind of how we maintain that relationship. That was a great question. Thank you.
Sherry, I have a question. Are
Okay.
any of your students in OCT serving in Americorps also? I know they're served by Americorps, but are any of the students Americorps members?
Yes. So those are our community advocates that serve in a minimum time capacity. So they serve 300 hours within that whole year. And that's what Key was kind of mentioning at the beginning, where they act more as peer mentors, where they will hold small group sessions to the incoming freshman students. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that, Key.
Yeah, so actually in this picture, you can see one of our students who's an Americorps. She's right in the middle there with her little cat mask.
Okay.
So every year we have 2 students who are serving as minimum time Americorps members. I love them. I could talk about our community advocates all day. So they do serve at a minimum time capacity, where on like most of our Americorps members serve at a half-time capacity. So it averages out to about like 5 or 6 hours a week. But they're also in the program full time, so like that's usually enough for them. So both of our community advocates this year also have another internship. So they're, they're like kind of doing volunteer work, and then they're also serving in Americorps, and then they're also going to class and, doing the rest of the program. So it works out really well for them. And they also do assist with our summer program, which we touched on briefly. So we do there's 2 sessions of it, and it's like a 4-week summer boot camp that's kind of like summer camp for adults with IDD, where they just get to learn like how to live in an apartment, how to cook, how to clean. It's kind of like your first like dipping your toe into living alone. So that's usually like a totally different set of clients. It's managed by another person in our office. It's a really cool program, and it lets us have that like whole year of service. So Americorps always have something to do.
And our community advocates do everything that the Americorps members do. Like they have to submit their timesheets, they get their own email, they get that leadership experience. They have to come to all the mandatory trainings that we do. So they're fully immersed just like any other member would be.
I have a question in terms of, are there other programs around Florida that have relationships or partnerships with Americorps and the Florida Center for Unique Abilities projects? I don't know if you'll know that, but Drew may know that.
Yeah, I have no
No
idea.
idea, because I think that this could be interesting.
It's a perfect fit, and we've had
Right.
AmeriCorps share a couple of times. And it's sort of like, with Carol's question, many of them already know that there's AmeriCorps going on their campus, but they're looking, but I know that AmeriCorps does grants, and you do a grant for a period of time to provide service. And then oftentimes I think that becomes an ongoing grant that's
But there's no
renewable.
reason why you can't. You don't have, I mean,
Right.
you could have both grants.
Right. And so
Interesting.
you
Okay.
could, yes, because this not only it does so many things, because you can have folks that can serve the students in your
Mhm.
program, as well as the students in your program learning about volunteer service, and learning about AmeriCorps service. So you can tie both of those into what you're doing. It just has to all has to be meaningful, and there has to be someone that's sort of tying that together. But with most programs, there's already a coordinator and usually someone else, other support folks there. And there's just so much benefit because participants all get a living allowance, a small living allowance, as well as an educational stipend that can be used for courses the next year, and so I mean it's just a win-win all the way around. And AmeriCorps is just such a well-run organization. Everything that I've seen with them is always so well, so well organized and so well run.
Yes, and that's something that I think we didn't touch on, and maybe we should have, especially for programs that are also taking place on college campuses. So AmeriCorps does offer a pretty sizable educational award at the end of like successful completion of service, which is kind of the pull for AmeriCorps to stay with us that full year. I personally, when I was in AmeriCorps, I used my educational stipend to kickstart getting my master's degree. And that was huge for me because there was no other way I was going to be able to pay for it. I did AmeriCorps in like the year COVID started, so it was a little interesting, but I still, got that educational award at the end, and that can be used to pay tuition or pay off existing loans. So if someone has completed college, but they have loans, they can do that, or there is like a smaller cash stipend that you can take if the educational award is not helpful to you.
Yeah, in the meantime, until I can get Kat, if you wanted to even research like volunteer, like VF funding, they've already released their competitive application, which there's two different grant types there's a bunch of different grant types for AmeriCorps, but one's competitive and one is formula. Our program is specifically formula funded. So, and there's another bracket to that. So you can be like, your first year, you have to be a match grant, which you provide a percentage of funds and they provide the other percentage of funds. With fixed, you're providing the entire funds. You just get paid per your member. So that also differs as you're doing your research, but that's something I would even just look into now, is because you can already see their NOFO online for their competitive application, which looks similar to mine that'll come out later in the year. And it's good for 3 years. So once you get the grant, you have AmeriCorps grant for 3 years, but then every year you have to do like a recompete. And I do it all. So if you have any questions, let me know.
That's great, Sherry, and thank you for offering to provide information. And are you in Hoover? Did you signed into Hoover, correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so remember everyone that Hoover is a great way for meeting folks and communicating with folks and sharing contact information and all of that. So you'll find Sherry Carlin with the Art and the AmeriCorps program at UNF, and also Key Cash. They're at UNF with the on-campus transition program. Are there any other questions? You all are just a wealth of information.
Yes, I should also be in Hoover. I will be honest, my account was created today, so I haven't gotten a chance to explore yet. But I'm also happy to provide my email if that's easier, if you can't get in touch with me on the
Well, if you all want to,
interface.
you can put them in the chat box. That's another way we can communicate. And folks can just pull it right out of the chat box. Thank you.
I love talking to people about their programs. Post-secondary just transition is like where my heart lives. So even if you just want to chat and like compare notes, you know, with your programs, I'm happy to. I just did last year a big poll of applications for different programs like ours around the country, and I had a lot of really great conversations, and it was awesome. We have no secrets, always down to share with other programs because Florida just has so many of them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any other questions, anyone, before we go? Well, I would like to thank both of you for sharing such great information today and teaching us more about the on-campus transition program. And to those of you who have joined us, thank you so much.